Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, California Weather Watch. Today is November 7th, and right now we're looking at the visible satellite imagery. You can see the Bay Area here. We've got Southern California, Los Angeles, San Diego underneath some of the low clouds here. Some fog out and about there as well, so you guys know the drill. Slow down when you see it. You can see that into some of the interior valleys here along the coastal ranges and even into the Central Valley a bit. So yeah, maybe some fog out there this morning, but yesterday we had some interesting thunderstorm activity across Central and Northern California. Some pretty good gully washers rolling through. Lots of lightning and thunder out there, some gusty winds, some snow for the higher terrain. And there is a thunderstorm threat again today. Nothing like what was going on yesterday, but you could get a thunderstorm or two across portions of Central or Northern California. We'll look at those details as you can actually see lightning as we speak off the coastline here in this storm off to the west of the Bay Area. Now, we're going to look at the extended forecast as well. We're starting to get some better agreement with the storm system impacting California at some point as we go on into the early portion of next week. And some of the models are showing some pretty robust solutions, some strong storms impacting the state all the way down through Southern California. So we'll dive into some of those details as we go through the video here today. Channel's doing well. Couldn't do this without you guys. Thanks to all my subscribers, all my members. Keep clicking like, keep coming back daily to watch the videos if they're helping you. And yeah, very much appreciated, you guys. Now, taking a look here at this day in SoCal weather history, look at this. 1966 tornadoes hit LA and Orange County. Tornadoes are not that uncommon for Southern California, believe it or not. And you can see these tornadoes actually caused some damage and they injured several people out here. So yeah, interesting weather back here in November of 1966. Eureka, California, there are some frost advisories, and we still have the winter weather advisory that goes through tonight across some of the Sierra Nevada. A few more inches for some of the higher elevations out there. This is the day one thunderstorm outlook. They did include the northwest coast, but I think there is a chance here across Central and Northern California for a couple thunderstorms today as well. Now, this is that winter weather advisory. Again, it expires at 10 p.m. tonight, and generally 6,000 feet is where that snow level is going to be. So use caution when traveling out there. Now, taking a look at the winds that are coming up here, we got some Santa Ana winds as well as some northerly winds here coming down the coastal areas too. And you can see some gusts up towards 50 miles per hour, maybe some nuisance power outages through Tuesday evening. Then we're going to turn things offshore, and the Santa Ana winds are going to be blowing. Not an exceptionally strong event, but you could get some pretty good wind gusts in the typical locations. And with that, it's going to bring some potential red flag conditions here and some fire danger, low relative humidities, and gusty winds, fast fire growth possible if a fire does start. So keep your wits about you. And if you want a nice affordable home weather station, click on that link down below to save 10% off. Highly recommend this one, and it's a much better option than spending thousands of dollars for a much more expensive weather station for your house. Always much more fun to watch the weather with a weather station on your home. Taking a look at the European last night, you can see this is lightning flash density, and it is picking up some of that thunderstorm activity off the coastline this morning. And then it shows some of this across some of the Central and Northern California. Nothing like yesterday. We're not talking about the big thunderstorms that were rolling across some of the areas here that we talked about yesterday and what happened to verify. So just a thunderstorm or two, not as intense as yesterday. And then we get a break for a few days before we start to turn our attention as we go through the weekend and into next week on the next storm system rolling towards the state, which we'll look at here in a moment. Now, looking at some of these winds, you can see that winds really increase as we go through the day today. The northwest winds down the coastline here, still some gusty west winds across the higher terrain of the southern Sierra Nevada, the transverse ranges as well, onshore flow ripping down across Southern California. But then watch the wind shift here as we turn things offshore. Santa Ana winds start blowing strong northerly winds across the desert, some of southern Nevada here. And as we go through Thursday, you can see those Santa Ana winds continue on through Southern California. That gradient should relax by the time we get towards Friday morning here. Then we really start to turn our attention to the developing trough off the Pacific Ocean. Now, looking a little bit closer here, the NAM 3KM 80 meter wind speeds, you'll see some of those strong westerly winds as we go through the morning and day to day. Again, across the peninsular ranges here, transverse ranges up through the southern Sierra Nevada, strong winds coming down the coastline, and then you see that wind shift come through as we start to bring the Santa Ana winds across a lot of Southern California. And with that, it's going to bring some very low relative humidities and definitely can help spread some fires across the region. So heads up for that. You guys know the drill. You can kind of see the terrain features on the map here on the NAM 3KM. Picks up the resolution of the terrain features pretty well, and you kind of see that on the map here. I just kind of grabbed off the internet there, but you can see the gaps where the winds like to come through, and a lot of times the Los Angeles metro is shielded here. As you can see, the higher terrain kind of blocks the strongest winds from getting down in there. Now, taking a look at the accumulated max 10-meter wind gusts, I'll just scroll ahead here. This is not an exceptionally strong Santa Ana wind event here. As you can see, gusts kind of maxing out around 50 miles per hour there. So just a heads up for that. Now we turn our attention to the fun stuff here. This is the system going through, and that's what brought that thunderstorm activity across California yesterday. The strong gusty winds across the higher terrain and some snowfall on the Sierra Nevada. We get a little bit of a break. A modest system rolls through the Pacific Northwest here as we go on into the end of the week, but then the Gulf of Alaska troughing here, Lucian low gets rolling, and we start to bring some potential for California. Look at this system the European wants to bring into Northern California Central there, and then we bring some very interesting stuff here through the extended forecast. There is this troughing really sets up here off the west coast of North America, and what would that mean? Let's take a look. So our system moves out, we get a break, there goes that modest system, may bring some precipitation to Northern California. That front is falling apart as it does so. And then we bring another system through the Pacific Northwest, and this trough really gets going. And look at some of these storm systems bringing precip all the way down across Southern California by the early portion of next week. Strong storm off the coast of Oregon. This could bring some mountain snows with it as well, some gusty winds, and then a 1-2 punch, another round of precip across much of the state here showing up. And then look at this monster storm setting up off the southern Oregon coast. Look at these precipitation rates. You'd be talking about flooding if this does verify, and you can see that strong frontal system move down across much of California. Now, a lot of this is still fantasy at this point, but the models have been showing some very strong systems trying to make their way down towards California, so definitely something to watch and start to get excited about here. This is the European total precipitation in inches. This is the same run. We're going to fly through here and kind of check out. There's that weak system here. The front's falling apart as it goes through, but then look at these next systems just roll across California. Look at some of these amounts across the Sierra Nevada. You're talking in excess of 6 inches across some of the coastal range in the Sierra Nevada, and big amounts all the way down through Southern California as well. Still kind of fantasy, but getting a little bit more confident here in a stormy solution coming up here as we go through next week. This is total snow. I just wanted to show you guys that this going through the day today, it's kind of wrapping up, and by the time you get towards tomorrow morning, that snow should be largely gone across the Sierra Nevada. I just wanted to mention that here as well. Now taking a look at the GFS, what does it have to say? This is last night's run, 06Z. It's about 10 p.m. Pacific Standard Time when this model run started, and the 12Z is just about to run here. But we'll look at last night's. As you can see, that modest system moving through the Pacific Northwest here, a little bit of a break, but then the GFS showing something similar here too. As you can see, a very dynamic trough setting up off the west coast here. This would have the potential to bring strong storm systems and strong frontal systems all the way down through Southern California if it does verify. And you can kind of see this hanging out and redeveloping here also as we go through the extended forecast. So interesting stuff showing up in the models, and check it out at the end of the GF run. Always something amazing to look at the end of a GFS run many times. Now looking at what this would bring precipitation-wise, so there goes our system, the precipitation ending by Wednesday morning, then this frontal system kind of falling apart as it reaches Northern California. A little bit of a break here, but you can see the troughing going across the Gulf of Alaska. We start to bring some of the stronger storm activity right off the coastline here, and look at some of this frontal systems rolling through California on the GFS. Again, kind of fantasy, but look at this atmospheric river potential just training over some of the areas of California here as we go through the mid-portion of next week. And of course, this is going to change, but you can see it cast a strong frontal system all the way down towards Southern California as well. And if you go off into Fantasyland in the GFS, you can see that last portion of it there with another strong storm system impacting California. So, you know, it's worth getting excited about here, but you don't want to get caught up in any one solution. This can still, you know, back up, and we can still get much weaker systems in here. But right now, the confidence is starting to improve here a bit for a stormy solution here as we go through next week. Now we roll off onto the European ensemble mean, and you can see the ensemble mean is pretty impressive here. As you can see, this strong trough, and this brings some pretty interesting storm activity to California here. So we do have ensemble agreement with that as well. We're not just cherry picking deterministic runs. And the ensemble members on the European, I've talked about this before, but there's 50 members here, and we tweak those initial conditions from what we best understand them to be. So we're trying to correct for our errors. We tweak those 50 ensemble runs, and we run them out all individually. And then we take the mean of all 50 ensemble members numbers here. So when we have agreement like this, our confidence starts to increase in a stormy pattern as we go through next week. Now, looking at San Francisco fantasy windstorm hunt, this is way out there, guys. This is entertainment purposes only, but you can see if one of those stronger storm systems moved in here, you can see some of those gusts up over 50 miles per hour showing up. Even the control run showed 55 miles per hour for San Francisco. This is something I do for Seattle and the other channel here from time to time. And when we get big storms in California, I'll do it down here as well. So you can kind of see that out there in fantasy land here. I mean, you're talking still 7-8 days off into the future. You got to take that with a grain of salt. Also, precipitation amounts with that as well. You can see the control run up towards 2 inches in a 24-hour period. So yeah, interesting stuff coming up here. Starting to get a little bit excited for it. You can see Lake Tahoe. Check it out. 24-hour precipitation totals. The control had over 3 inches there as well. Ensemble mean is right around an inch. Now, looking at what's coming temperature-wise over the next few days, you can see, we've cooled down. We're going to cool down quite a bit anyway today. The high is only getting into the 60s for some of the valley areas. Southern California cooling down as well. And look by tomorrow, a lot of the desert areas, Arizona cools down quite a bit. Maybe Death Valley, probably the hot spot there, into the lower 90s. And we go through this week here and we kind of remain comfortable and maybe warm back up a little bit here as we go through the end of the weekend before some additional storm systems might start to roll through here as we go on into next week there. So yeah, showing up here also in the Climate Prediction Center, 8 to 14 day. You can see the blue showing up across California, Nevada, and kind of bullseye in Southern California there as we go through November 20th. And the precipitation here clearly including the entire state of California, Nevada, Arizona as well, with some above average potential. And we'll break this down day by day so we know exactly what's coming here. So anyway, hope you guys are liking these videos. I'm excited to see what the model runs bring over the next few days so we can get better model agreement on the timing and the strength of any storms that may be affecting California. So anyway, click like and subscribe. We'll do this again tomorrow, and I will talk to you guys then.